In the high-stakes world of life sciences, we're talking pharmaceuticals, medical devices, you name it, the software that runs everything is under a microscope, and for good reason. It's not just about things working smoothly, it's about patient safety. So today, we're going to break down the absolutely critical process that makes sure this digital backbone is rock solid. Computer System Validation, or CSV.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We'll kick things off with why we even need to do this. Then we'll get into the key terms. After that, we'll walk through the classic V-model blueprint, look at the big shift to something called CSA, and wrap up with some really practical tips to get it right. Let's jump in.
All right, to really get this, let's start at square one. In most of our digital lives, right, software is just plug and play. You download an app, you use it, that's it. But that is definitely not how it works in the life sciences, which brings up a really important question.
I mean, think about it. When you get a new app for your phone, you just hit install and you're off and running. So why can't a lab technician do the same? Why can't they just install some new software on a critical piece of equipment and start using it? And here's the answer. It's simple and it's powerful. In this world, a software bug isn't just your game crashing. No, a glitch could mean an incorrect dose of a life-saving drug. It could mean a faulty reading from a medical device. It could completely compromise the data from a clinical trial. The stakes are just unbelievably high. So to manage that immense risk, the industry has to follow a super strict set of rules and, honestly, speak a very specific language. Let's break down the two terms you absolutely have to know.
First up is computer system validation itself. So what is it? At its heart, CSV is all about proof. It's the formal, documented process, and that documented part is key, that proves a computer system does exactly what you expect it to every single time without fail.
And where do you have to do this? In what's known as a GxP environment. GxP is kind of a catch-all term for all the good practice regulations out there. You've got GMP for manufacturing, GLP for labs, GCP for clinical trials. You get the idea. If a computer is involved in any of it, it has got to be validated. Here is a fantastic way to think about why this is so important. To a regulator, someone from the FDA, for instance, any data coming from an unvalidated system is basically fake news. It's true. Without that documented proof, that paper trail from the validation, an auditor has zero reason to trust it. The data is considered completely unreliable. So when you boil it all down, all this work, all these procedures, it's all built on three core pillars. First, and most important, is patient safety. Second is ensuring product quality, whether it's a pill or a pacemaker. And third, protecting the data integrity that proves the first two are solid. Okay, so that covers the what and the why, but how do companies actually do this stuff? Well, the industry standard playbook is called GAMP 5, and the core of it is a method everyone knows as the V model. Think of the V model like, well, a V. You start by going down the left side. This is the setup, the planning phase. You start with user requirements. What do we need this system to do? Something like, the system must record the temperature every minute. Then, functional specs get into how it'll do it. And finally, the design specs are the deep, technical blueprints for the developers. Now, once the system's been built, you start climbing up the right side of the V. And this side is all about testing and verification. First is IQ, or installation qualification. Basically, did we install it correctly? Then comes OQ, operational qualification, where you test every single function. And finally, PQ, performance qualification, which asks the big question, does it actually work in a real-world environment, even when it's under stress? And what's the linchpin that holds this entire model together? It's this beautiful document called the Traceability Matrix. This thing is the master map. It connects every single requirement you wrote down on the left side of the V to a specific test you ran on the right side. It is the ultimate proof that you tested what you planned to test. So for years and years, that V model has been the absolute standard. But let's be honest, it has a bit of a reputation for creating, well, mountains and mountains of paperwork. And that's led the entire industry and even the regulators to start thinking differently. This brings us to the future of validation. So, say hello to Computer Software Assurance, or CSA. This is a huge philosophical shift. Traditional CSV can be very document-focused, with this mindset of testing everything with the same level of intensity. CSA, on the other hand, is all about being risk-based and using critical thinking. It forces you to ask what features have a direct impact on patient safety and focus your most intense efforts there.
And get this isn't just some new industry trend. The FDA itself is actively encouraging this shift. And the goal makes perfect sense. By spending less time on exhaustive testing for low-risk things, like a logo change on a screen, teams can move faster and pour all those resources into making sure the high-risk stuff is absolutely bulletproof.
Okay, so now that we've got the theory and the modern approach down, let's wrap this up with a few super practical tips for anyone who has to manage one of these projects.
First up, and this one is huge, bring your quality assurance team in from day one. Seriously, the biggest mistake people make is building a whole system and then just throwing it over the wall to QA to get their blessing. That's a recipe for disaster. When you involve them from the start, quality gets baked in, not bolted on at the end. Number 2, if you're buying software off the shelf, audit your vendors. Do your homework. Understand their quality systems. A good vendor will have tons of great documentation and test results that you can often leverage. That can save your team an incredible amount of time. It's about working smart.
And finally, please remember this. Validation is never, ever one and done. It's a living thing. Once a system is validated, you have to maintain that state with super strict change control. Any patch, any update, any little tweak has to be managed. You've got to do periodic reviews to make sure it stays compliant and trustworthy for its entire life. When you strip away all the acronyms, the forms, the procedures, it all comes down to a single word: trust. It's about building documented confidence. It's about trusting the incredibly complex systems that help make our medicine and keep us safe. So that brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. Take a hard look at your own work or your own company. Where do you fall on the spectrum? Are you still stuck in a purely document-centric world, or have you started to embrace this more critical, risk-centric way of thinking? It's a really important question for the future. Thanks so much for watching.